All right, who's next? Who's on the phone?
All right, Stephen Rimmer. Stephen Rimmer, you can unmute yourself.
Good evening. Can I be heard?
Good evening.
Yes, my name is Stephen Rimmer. I'm from the Detroit Tenant Association, and I'm calling in regards to the tenant that was murdered during the eviction on July 12th in Palmer Park. We want to know what this person's name was. This is a human being who lost their life, and we feel that we need to know this person's name. So, Mayor, my question to you is, why hasn't the name of this person been released yet?
Is there somebody here from the Detroit Police Department that knows the answer to this? Who's here from DPD? So the question had to do with an eviction near Palmer Park?
And murder, yes. And murder.
17655 Manderson.
912.
We're pulling up the information now, Mr. Mayor. I'm sorry. Homicide is here to answer that.
Is this the one with the bailiff?
Yes.
Okay.
Shane.
Okay, he was requesting the name of the victim, correct?
Right. Is there any reason the name of the victim isn't public?
The name of the victim is, if they need it, can be public. We traditionally don't put it out to the public. We do send it out department-wide, but the name of the victim is.
Yeah, I don't want to break a DPD policy, but why isn't the name of the victim public?
It's still under investigation at this moment with our homicide task force. MSP is a OIC. However,
But I assume the relatives have been notified.
Absolutely.
So anyway, I guess I will ask DPD to give the name to the individual who asked. Okay. So is there anybody here from DPT Legal who would explain, is there any reason it wouldn't be public?
No, I can share that name with you.
Go ahead.
His name is Mr. Craig Gregory.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Sherman. I'm sorry. Yes, that's correct. That's Craig. Oh, you want the bailiff's information?
No.
This is the victim's information right there.
Right, that's the name I just gave you. Craig. I'm sorry, I'm looking at it backwards. Apologies. Sherman Butler is the victim.
Okay. All right. Let's take somebody from the phone. All right. Who's next?
My name is Pat Driscoll. I live in the Livernois Warren area for the last almost 50 years. Is this in regards to the context of what happened with the gentleman who was an evicted tenant? We know affordability of housing is on the decline for many, many Detroit citizens and for out the metro area. That this is this area where he died. There are 506 apartments. It's called the Palmer Park Portfolio. They were moving him out. These are nice, were nice apartments, but they're large. These 14 buildings are largely empty. And for this person to be moved out when he was having a mental health crisis, and this is a police-involved death because there was a police officer at the scene, we need to have some kind of investigation of what's going on. Hundreds of people, or a lot of people, because it's low rent, live in these houses. There are other people facing eviction here, other people throughout the city facing eviction. We need some investigation of what these bailiffs are doing and what can be done to them to treat people humanely when they're going through this process.
Okay, so two separate questions. One is the bailiff process is through the 36th District Court, and as far as that, you're going to have to direct your question to them. But that Palmer Park apartment area, we have got a significant problem with the maintenance of those apartments. I'm going to have Kim Tandy address what we are doing about that.
So currently we're working with all of the owners of all of the apartments. We're creating a neighborhood association with them. There is a group that has just received as a receiver 14 of those apartment buildings. They are working on those, moving tenants into appropriate spaces as well as so that they can actually redevelop those apartments. So they're working on that currently right now, and we'll be having a lot of community meetings to talk about this in the future really soon.
But we are pursuing legal options against that whole area of apartments.
Yes.
It should not look like what it does.
Point of information, they're moving people from the 4th and 5th floor, telling them they got to move themselves down because their elevators aren't working in a number of the buildings. They're forcing them to do it. So that's not an acceptable way to move people.
There's a receiver that's been appointed because of their management, and we are going to stay on top of it, but I agree with you. We are zeroing in on the management of those buildings. Absolutely. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor. My name is Tara Brown, and I'm from District 5. I'm also an organizer with Detroit Eviction Defense, and I am one of the thousands of Detroiters who have been evicted. Mine wasn't even for money, just like Mr. Butler, who was murdered. Something has to be done about the way evicted tenants are being treated, and part of the reason people are being evicted is because they have the audacity to push back against bad landlords, or worse, their houses are falling apart and the houses are being stickered. The other part is it's just not affordable in Detroit, and it's great that you are constantly ribbon cutting and talking about how much housing is going up, but most of the people in this room can't afford most of the housing that you all are putting up, myself included. I am disabled. Again, something has to be done, and y'all are pushing it. The city is pushing it to 36th District Court, and 36th District Court is pushing it back. We have a problem right now with judges in the landlord-tenant court that don't even know the difference between a professional license and a license at Lyra. We have a judge, Judge Evans, who is evicting people with landlords that don't even have standing to evict them, and we are pushing back. We are telling the judges, and nothing is being done.
Okay.
Please step up.
So I'm going to just be honest with you about there is a basic separation of powers in this country. The city of Detroit does not run the court system. We just don't. Okay? And you can vent at us, but we don't. We have built $1 billion of affordable housing in the last 10 years. We're going to build another 100 million this year, and we've set up David Bowser and the Detroit Housing Services so that if somebody is in danger of being evicted, they can reach out to Detroit Housing Services, who has a list of all the affordable available units in the city that will help match them up. Those are the things that we can do. I attempted to get the district court to adopt a policy that if a landlord did not have a certificate of compliance, they couldn't bring an eviction case. The Supreme Court struck that down. They wouldn't let me do it. I tried. Okay, so I have to be honest with you about what I can do and what I can't do. I'm limited in what I can do with the court system. What we can do is be responsive.
Hello, everybody. My name is Miriam Pickens. I work with Detroit Eviction Defense. I currently live in Southfield, 10 in Southfield. What I want to talk about is the man that was murdered during the eviction. And what we want is an open inquest so that information can be out to the public. The other thing we want is for evictions to be stopped as long as there are bailiffs murdering people in the course of these evictions. Now, we spoke with Judge McConico, and he said, oh, I don't know anything. I don't know anything. You have to talk with the police or conducting an investigation. I currently just now spoke with Officer Rodriguez. He says, oh, I don't know too much of anything. It's the courts that are handling the investigation. It sounds to me like this goes, they're both pointing the fingers at each other.
Again, let me stop you there. The courts are not doing any investigation.
10 seconds.
This is why we need a public inquest, so that information can be made available to the people of the city.
So the courts are not doing any investigation, and there's no such thing as a public inquest. So the way that the law works is that the police agency investigates these cases under the guidance of the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office. When the Wayne County Prosecutor determines the investigation is complete, the prosecutor either decides it was a murder and brings a charge, or decides it was self-defense. You've seen Prosecutor Worthy in a number of cases go through these. In a number of cases, she's charged. In a number of cases, she concluded it was self-defense. The court has nothing to do with it. The police investigation will go to the prosecutor. Prosecutor Worthy will make the decision. And I can tell you that until she feels that the investigation is complete, they review body cams, they interview witnesses, et cetera, at that point, she'll make a discharging decision.
Well, until that happens, the eviction should be stopped.
Okay, well, that. All right, let's take somebody on the phone.
Bob Day, Detroit Eviction Defense. The tenant who was murdered by the bailiff and the police. The bailiff busted in the door, saw the tenant was in mental distress, called for Detroit police to back up. Detroit police came, saw mental distress, called for mental health unit to come. Before mental health arrived, the Detroit police tased the tenant. When he jumped, the bailiff shot him and killed him. So this is Detroit police and the bailiffs, the court and the city government murdering a tenant, killing him. And this is state violence is going on against tenants, people with mental health issues, people in distress, all over. And I guarantee you there are evictions going on right now this week, right, with probably the same damn bailiff that murdered that tenant and some of the same cops who were accomplices in that murder. We need an independent investigation, and we need all these evictions shut down because the state violence has got to end.
So maybe in my next life, I'll come back as a politician that tells you what you want to hear when you yell. But that's not me, okay? The city of Detroit has no jurisdiction over 36th District Court, how they conduct eviction proceedings and how they manage. We have none. So you can be as angry as you want, but under the Constitution, the executive branch has no control under the 36th District Court. Now, Prosecutor Worthy, I also have no control over. She's the county elected prosecutor, and she will make a decision as to the appropriateness of whether people were justified in using deadly force. It's something her office is familiar with, and they've done it. And so I don't know what else to tell you. You may or may not agree with what she does.
The county code told us to come here.
Okay.
He can't do anything.
I find that hard to believe, but I know how the charging works. All right.
Also, I want to stand in solidarity with Detroit Eviction Defense. I believe that the mayor is over the police department, so it's not exactly true that he can't do nothing. What I see over in Palmer Park and a lot of other areas, it's looking like gentrification by gunpoint now. That's